Hi everyone, my name is Rajdeep. I'm a pre-final year student pursuing electrical engineering from NITJ Jalandhar. So today I'll be sharing about my journey and my general interview experience for the summer internship of 2025 with Google. So I began my coding journey in first year and I primarily focused on DSA. So we were guided onto this path by one of our professors and I followed it very diligently. I initially began by practicing on platforms such as LeetCode, but then gradually shifted to CodeChef and CodeForces. By the time I was in second year, I was faced with the interviews and online assessments. I have solved over 600 questions on LeetCode, around 200 questions on CodeForces, and in all, I must have solved around 800 to 900 questions of DSA, that is. Uh, my primary focus was on DP, graph, and binary trees because these are the main topics which are asked in online assessments and interviews as well. So, the interview process mainly begins with an online assessment. So, we were given two questions in our online assessment. One of them was a DP question and another one was DP on trees. So the first question, we had to find the number of palindromic triplets. Basically we were given an array and how we could have divided it into sections of 3 such that all the 3 sections are palindrome, and we had to count the number of such triplets that we could have formed. So this is a very basic question, and it could be easily solved by a 2D DP approach. I think a similar question was also given in Striver sheet, so we'll discuss about Striver sheet as well. The second question was from DP on trees. Now this is not a very standard LeetCode question. I think if someone is versed with code, someone is well versed with competitive programming, he or she might have faced this kind of questions. So in the second questions, we were given a binary tree and we had to assign prime numbers to each node of the binary tree such that no two adjacent nodes sum up to a prime number themselves. So the first part of this question was to find all the prime numbers from 1 to 100. This could be easily done with the help of sieve, which is an algorithm to find prime numbers. Then in the second part we had to assign all the possible combinations of prime numbers to a specific node, and then we could check for the sum of a specific node and the sum of its children, and if actually they sum up to a prime number or not. So this is not a very standard question. It needs some intuition, and if you are not very well versed with DP and graphs in general, it would be slightly difficult to understand this. So after this, I was able to clear the online assessment, and then we moved to the interview parts. So interview was mainly divided into two parts. There were 2 rounds, both of them being elimination rounds, and you had to clear one to go on to the next one. So in my first interview, I was asked to give a brief introduction, which was followed by one DSA question. So the question which was asked me was, I was given an input of size 12, and each element of the input consisted of 2 parts, one color and one number, and I had to find if I can make 4 patterns out of this input or not. So what a pattern was it consisted of 3 elements from the input, and every element in one pattern should have the same color and either consecutive numbers or same numbers. So initially I was not able to come up with an approach for solving this question, but after thinking over this for a while and discussing with the interviewer, I was able to develop an approach and gradually came to a greedy solution. So then I moved to the coding part. While coding, I did make some small mistakes, but the interviewers are generally very helpful and very friendly. So they keep giving you small hints, and if you are able to catch them properly, you will be able to come up with the right solution. So luckily, I was able to come up with the right solution, and by the end of the interviewer asked me if I wanted to ask something to him, and I generally asked about his journey to Google and the challenges that he faced. So that wraps up our first interview. The second interview was scheduled on the next day. Again, I was asked to give a brief introduction about myself, after which we jumped straight into the coding part. So the question which was asked to me was a very standard graph question. I had to find the number of patterns which I can make from a screen log, similar to what we have on our phone screens. So just that in our phone screens we have like 9 cells of 3 cross 3. Instead, here we were given the number of rows and columns. So this has a very standard DFS and backtracking approach to this question, and I was able to solve it within a few minutes. After this, I was given a follow-up question wherein I had to count only those patterns which were at least of length 4 or longer. So I was able to do this question as well, but I did make some mistakes while counting the patterns. But again, the interviewers are very friendly and they gave me proper hints so that I would come up with the right approach, and I was able to track where I was doing the mistake. After which I was asked another follow-up question, but we ran out of time, so I was only able to come up with the approach, but I couldn't actually code it. Again, the interviewer asked me if I wanted to ask her about anything, so I asked her about her journey as well and the challenges she faced. So overall, I believe that you have to be good at DSA to crack an interview at Google, of course, but other than this, it's very important to create a connection with the interviewer and to convey your points very clearly and in a very simple language. Some tips that I would like to give to my juniors is that it's very important to focus on all the criterias. Now, DSA being the most important one, if you are weak at DSA, first make sure that you have a very good grip on DSA, you have a very good grip on some miscellaneous topics such as DP and graphs, and also try some competitive programming. It always gives you an upper hand. After this, projects are important. Now it differs from company to company. Some of them focuses a lot on projects, some of them focuses a lot on DSA, and some on both of them. With Google, my primary focus is on problem solving, so they will mainly assess you on the basis of DSA. But there are a lot of other companies which pay a lot of attention on your projects as well. After this, CG does play a part, I would say, although it doesn't play a very huge part, but it's always good to have a better CG. It can lead to you being shortlisted over another person who has equal skills as you do. So mainly I would say focus on competitive programming, focus on DSA a lot, do some projects. Companies do not have a lot of expectations from you towards the end of second year, but you should be very good at whatever you have already done, be it DSA or be it development, and I would say make a balance but focus a bit more on DSA. Thank you.